Well, I don't even know if I'm in the camera. It's had to balance it on a log. But, it's a good hike. I had my GoPro stuck in the bark of a big fir tree, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and I did a video with it. And then I went to turn it on again, and it said, SD card error. What a joke. So let's hope this camera sticks it out, and I'm gonna have to reread the ones that are red. And hopefully you can hear me. For anybody curious, if you remember those lights, those weird lights that I videotaped, I think a year ago or something. It was across the valley, up in those, way up there. That's where I videotaped those lights. Straight across the valley. Laud. Now let's get into it before my toes freeze right off. Alright. Hopefully I can read this in the sunshine. Man, I might have to move you guys. Yeah, I gotta move. I can't see it. The glare off this bright snow is too much. So, at least I gotta show you the view, right? Yeah, I gotta find a different spot. I can't read. It's just too bright. The sun's in my face, blazing off this big snow field. Hill, I mean. Let's see where we can go here. Maybe into these, in here into the shady rocks down here. Definitely way too deep up here to find shed antlers, and there's no sign either. There's a little bit, but let's get into this shade here, see what we can do. There we go. That's gonna work. Now, I think I can see my screen. All right. Here we go. This is titled Night Today. I just do thanks for all you do and keep on fighting the fight. I'd like to explain an event that happened to my friend and myself while out night fishing in Wisconsin. Late in the spring of 1992, a friend and I decided to go night fishing on a backwater lake of the Wisconsin River in Grant, Colorado, Wisconsin. We arrived before sundown so we could collect firewood in the daylight. The bigger the fire, the better the light to see our rod tips. So we always like to have a good blaze going, and it was summer. Didn't even need the fire for heat and didn't light it until around 9:30 p.m. As we sit on the bank and the fire starts to burn down, I decided I'll stoke it up because the light was fading from my fishing rod in front of me. It's now about 11:30 p.m. Fire stoked. I sit and continue fishing with my buddy. About 5 minutes pass by as we sit on the bank, and I'm liking the orange glow from the fire in my fishing pole. I can see it fairly well. In an instant, night turned into daylight, everywhere that I could see for as far as I could see. That's frickin' bizarre. Everywhere that I could see, for as far as I could see, bright daylight. It was unbelievable. I turned to my buddy and told him, hey, in all seriousness, it's been good knowing you and having you for a friend. I'm just saying because a nuke is the only explanation I can come up with. And we just haven't felt the shockwave yet. Good knowing you, bud. It lasted what seemed 90 seconds without any source, just daytime. After light went out and we returned to nightfall, I decided to turn the radio on in the truck to see if there was any news on a nuclear attack. I noticed the fire was nearly out, but it couldn't be. I just stoked it 10 minutes ago. I looked at the clock in the truck, nearly 3 a.m. We had lost over 3 hours of time. We both stated the exact same happenings. I'll never understand. I'm still totally confused on this one. I would truly be interested in hearing about anyone else having an experience like this. Thanks for doing what you do, Steve. I'll follow up with my Sasquatch experiences in a separate email. I've had a few, Jim. Jim, I'm absolutely curious of what the hell that was all about too, man. And if any of you out there have heard anything about that same kind of experience or have had it happen, get it into me or maybe mention it in the comment section below this video, all right? It's a little alarming. This is titled Several Sightings. Hey bud, love your channel and stumbled across it 6 months ago. I'll try to keep it short. I'm 58 years old, started hunting late. At 18 years old, grew up on a farm, so we had lots of beef, chickens, and pigs to eat. Met my wife when she was 14. Eek! And her dad was a hunter and a trapper, so there I went. I left home at 16 when I was in the oil patch for most of my life. I worked in every shithole in Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan, starting consulting in 96, operated for NCL at Pego and Midwinter Lake, North Fort Nelson. Been there. And north of Helmet. Been there too. Fly in 15 and 13, back then by myself. Dropped off grub and parts for every shift change. My sled broke down 23 kilometers from my camp and I had to walk back. I was tracked by 8 to 12 wolves. I could see the eye shine of the alpha ahead of me, but felt no fear or intimidation. I shielded my eyes. Then I shined my flashlight ahead, behind, and to the side. Nothing but eye shine. I had no ill feeling whatsoever and made it back to my shack. No worries. The black bears up there were terrible in the summer, though. Not the wolves. So out of all the years I spent in the bush and or the skeg, I never saw or smelt any sabbath. However, when I was 13, I was riding my Honda Z50 out to a friend's place, 1.5 miles west. Between us, there was our small town of about 50 people. Just to the east of that town, I saw something to my left or north. I drove a mini bike into the ditch and dropped it. Jumped off the fence and went into the field, and there was something hovering just east of the town. It felt like a big magnet, and all the hair on my head and neck was standing on end. If you held a dinner plate in your hand outstretched, that was how big I was seeing it. After, I'm not sure how long, I jumped the fence, back on my bike, and tried to make it the 3 minutes to my friend's place so I could show him. Within a minute, it was gone. I kept going to my buddy's place, but there was nothing there. I heard the next day in school that several people had seen something. We have the CFB Cold Lake Air Force Base within 10 miles from there, and nothing was ever reported. My name is Paul Lavasseur, and you can use my name. The rest of what I'm about to say, you can leave out, and I'll include it so you can use it if you see fit. Yeah, I read all this on your health, and that is an unfortunate frickin' story of all your health, man. Your bad health and your accident. Holy shit, dude. That's a lot. Listen, don't quit, all right? Just don't quit. Never, ever give up. I hope you recover from all that list of shit. Damn, man. And I'll guarantee you some of the people you met working in the patch have seen these beings, guaranteed. I know of some up near Helmet, actually. There was a big sighting up there years back. Now, what's this next one? All right. This is titled, I Never Thought in Ohio. I was 13 at the time this took place at my grandparents' house in the country, which was bordered on woods on the left and a river, Great Miami River on the right. It was a very warm night, and I was sleeping on the couch with the main door open and a locked screen door. I was facing towards the back of the couch when I woke up to a sound of porch chairs being ran into or pushed out of the way. I froze and was scared shitless. There's a very deep breathing sound, and then the knob on the screen door was being messed with. I almost quit breathing, thinking who or what was going to get in, and then once again I heard the chairs being moved. I slowly rolled over to look out the door. My grandparents had a vapor light that lit the yard up. I saw a very large figure, maybe 8 feet tall, just going into the overgrown bushes and weeds, and was standing between a forked tree. It was kind of swaying back and forth, and a car was heading down the road, and it dropped down. The car passed, and it stood up, and I watched it take one huge step over a gully that was between the yard and the road. The other side was the same, and that was the wooded side, and he took one big step over that gully. He or it went crashing into the woods, heading left, and the trees were snapping. Needless to say, quiet wasn't his thing. I shut the main door, locked it, and made sure the back one was still locked. I tried to wake my grandparents up, but no luck. There was a pistol kept at their bedside, and I fell asleep on the floor, knowing if it came back, it would be Mr. Smith & Wesson. I truly enjoy your show and the emails you read from viewers. I've had a few more unexplained things that have happened, but that's a later time. God bless you, and always, eyes wide open, Rebecca in Ohio. Rebecca, thanks for that. That's pretty freaking alarming. It'd be curious to know if your grandparents knew of this thing, and if they saw it, if you talked to them about it. I'll bet they've got some kind of history with that thing on the property. Just got to scroll back down to some of the people who've been waiting a long time here. All right, here we go. Mark this as red. Looking outside the box. Dear Steve, you may read this if you want, and you can use my name. Here's an actual witness in the military that interacted with the tall whites in Nevada within Nellis Air Force Base. All right. Charles Hall, a nuclear physicist, ex-military American weather specialist, and author who claims the United States military has been in contact with an alien species for years. He says the aliens would dress as humans and go visit Las Vegas. He would spot them gambling. When he was on his weekend leave, he also encountered them as a weather observer out in a remote area of the Nevada desert in the Nellis Air Force Base. They would come up and watch him while he did his job. He was only 19 at the time, and it scared the crap out of him. At first, he thought he was hallucinating. Eventually, they would talk to him and tell him that they loved their children more than humans loved theirs. That translated out to, "We will kill you if you touch any of them." Much to their surprise, he ended up saving one of their children's lives, and their tone quickly changed. He just went about his daily duties, and they went just to watch. Here's a quote from his book, Millennial. In 1964, when I was a weather observer at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, I witnessed interactions between the military and a group of mysterious, tall, white, human-like extraterrestrials, Charles said. Our military officers came through his bunk area one night with a group of tall, white officers, and they discussed and answered any questions for them. While Charles sat in his bunk watching this whole scenario play out, Charles was the first soldier they had found that was able to stay without freaking out. He did this job for 2 years, Charles also said. Their crafts are capable of traveling faster than the speed of light because Einstein was wrong about relativity. No cameras were allowed at the site, which has since been wiped off the map. When he first arrived for duty, the soldier he wanted to lock them both up in weather station and not go to the other end of the building because that's where he had encountered them. There was a group of 5, 2 men, 3 women, and they had come to go to the bathroom. When you encounter the tall whites, it's such a shock you're not sure if you are looking at a ghost or an angel, or if you are dreaming, he said. Charles also said that he had contact with 3 types of aliens. The tall whites, about 2.5 meters tall, the grays with yellow/orange skin, and the Norwegians with 24 teeth who look like humans and speak English. He claims that the experiences were real, and the U.S. Air Force were indeed hosting extraterrestrials that had reached agreements with during the 1950s, if not earlier. They were principally involved in technology transfers with the U.S. military. He said U.S. officials had kept it all quiet because people weren't emotionally ready to accept alien life forms. The tall whites are humanoid in appearance. The first UFO researcher to seriously investigate the Charles Hall story is Paola Harris, who interviewed him in July 2003. Paula Harris is an American and Italian journalist who also is friends with the Colonel Philip Corso, who was with the U.S. Army Intelligence and had dealt with the extraterrestrials and material evidence himself. Corso wrote a book called Day After Roswell and had it released on the day he died. It's a worthwhile read. I remember when you said you do not want to investigate this area because you have had a lot going on already in your life. When I was working, I did not have time for it either. I put all the paranormal stuff in a hobby box because I can't do anything about it, and it does not pay the bills. Aliens, spaceships, Sasquatch, orbs all go in this box. I believe in all of it because I'm a first-hand witness to experience a lot of it. But the bottom line, I don't let it rule my everyday life. I didn't get PTSD from it either. I love your photography. You live in God's country. I appreciate you putting the energy and interest into this topic. It has done a lot for me becoming settled with it. I've sent you a couple of emails already about my ongoing encounters with Sabe, and you have very kindly read them. I'm the one that sent you the painting of my first encounter with juvenile Sabe when I was 11 years old. I hope this email fills out some questions you have in your mind because this is one of the reasons why they keep this information from us. It is info overload for the general public. People like the trollers you get on your channel, you know? Those folks. Thanks again, Steve, for all you do. Bless the Canadian truckers. We have yet to see the great impact they have had on freedom in your country. They set the tone for the whole trucker movement. They paid a big price to get it started. Let's see if this business is usual for your government. See, Trudeau is standing against the Russian invasion, trying to look like a hero for the Canadian people who have lost faith in him and who he thinks are stupid. It's all going to come back on him, and I'm waiting and watching. Judy Benjamin. Judy, I appreciate your email. I'm quite sure a lot of people are going to be interested in what you just shared. I am too, to be honest, but I just don't have that kind of time to dive into that category maybe quite just yet, right? And as far as our fascist sack of shit loser that's been placed in the position of Prime Minister, he is of the dark side. And hopefully light will come and strike him down sooner than later. That's all I got to say on that topic. I don't know what it is. Have you ever seen anything like it, or am I just letting my imagination run wild? Okay, man, I'm going to try to keep to the point of sparing any need-to-know background or details. So where this photo was taken has a very evil or ominous lore around it. It's in my hometown in West Point, Mississippi, located at what's called the Golden Triangle area of Mississippi. So my buddy had been staying with the girl that inherited and now lives on the land. We call it the place. And accordingly to legend, ever since her great-grandfather acquired this land from a local native tribe, it's just been a hotbed for anything from aliens to the devil. There's also rumors of something or things that are part of that forest. Just all kinds of wild stories of paranormal or cryptid type shit. The house is supposedly haunted by or the ones who die out there. They stay trapped somehow, given this is about a 6 or 7 mile from our famous Waverly Mansion and about 15 miles away from the Columbus Air Force Base. You can look up the details about those two places if you'd like. All right, Waverly Mansion, W-A-V-E-R-L-Y, for all you sleuths out there. Very coincidental if you ask me, I digress. All right, so I get a call from my buddy one evening, about 6 or so, and he's on a panic and needs somewhere to stay. He'd been out at this place by himself, watching over it until the woman came back the next day, and he had experienced something in that house, and he was convinced to get out of there. So, me being me, I told him, come get me, we're going back out there. A little tidbit on myself. When I was 3 years old, I woke up one night to some kind of white aura or something standing at the foot of my bed, scared me shitless. My parents, being religious, believed it was something godly. Later on in life, as I started to search out those supernatural things just to find their validity, I've always had the almost arrogant sense of protection or sense of power over these so-called evil unknowns. I don't know why, but that's just the feeling my gut gives me when I'm trying to find proof of the paranormal and supernatural things. Again, I digress. So I grab my pistols, ammo, a battle axe, and machete, some 1,000 lumen flashlights, and we tear off. We get there, we both split up to circle the house and secure a perimeter and meet at the back side of the house. Again, I truly do believe my buddy had experienced something, but as usual, as soon as I show up, nothing happens, or nothing tries to show out. We go inside again, room to room. We go secure the perimeter, again, nothing. But I'm feeling the need to be very vigilant, like crazy. We finally pass out around 2 a.m. We wake up around 6 or 7. He's asleep, still in my phone, and my phone's dead. The only charger's in his ride, so I go outside, use it, and as I'm waiting and sitting in his vehicle, I notice this white thing in the trees. It looked like a drone. Luckily, my phone was on about 30%, so I get out, take a couple pics of this thing. I do so, no problem, so go back to the car. I end up passing out again in the car. My buddy wakes me up around 9 a.m. or so. Now, mind you, I've never meant to capture a picture of whatever this is. I never saw it until I share the pics with my buddy. He's looking at the pic, asks me, what's that? Or, who is that? And what he shows me is literally not 15 yards in front of me. I never saw it. Here's the pic. The first, I'll circle what I was trying to capture, and the next pic is what my buddy showed me. The ones in blue are zoomed in, and the red ones are original photo. Anyway, what made me ultimately put 2 and 2 together was I ran across your video one day in 2021 when you were sharing the story of the physicist that witnessed the large being that made itself invisible. Then later on found out his phone had been like something like 80 different countries. I think it was 36. If you remember that one, the video immediately struck a nerve because I have been holding this photo since 2018, just unsure what it captured. Now given the brush line that starts in front of me is about 6 or 7 feet tall, I actually had to raise my arms to get a decent picture of that white whatever it is. Let me know what you think. Please let me know if you think I'm just seeing things. Keep it up, big guys. Stay safe out there. Thank you for your time. All right. You know what? It's too bright for me, first off, where I am with the snow and everything, but we'll try to... I will have to... I'll share that in the video. I'm not going to walk up and put it up to the screen right now. That looks odd to me. But we'll have a better look at it once I get it edited out, and we will make it available on the video and everybody can have a look at it, all right? It's a little odd so far. I can't see it fully clear from here. I'm cold. I got really sweaty coming up here, so I might have to break this off and finish it in a little bit, get my blood moving again. We'll see. Oregon experiences with children in the Sabbath. Good day, Jedi Master Steve, exalted hunter and wise YouTube teacher. In your recent video from February 25th, 2022, you once again, the table comes to this discussion of interactions between the forest people and human children. I've been quietly lurking in the shadows since I discovered your channel in November of 2019 while living and teaching middle school English in Shanghai, China. I felt compelled to share my story many times before, but I'm waiting until I've integrated my own relationships with Sasquatch and other spiritual beings. For the past 11 summers, I've been working at various outdoor camps around Oregon, teaching outdoor and survival skills to kids. Most programs involve large group activities, but sometimes I'll offer private classes in daytime with just 3 to 8 kids, and only myself as the guide. Last spring, during one of my small private classes, my students and I had 3 separate encounters at local parks in historic Yamhill County. These parks are not rural, but they are vast swaths of dense forest. Nevertheless, they let me know that they were watching us. It is by this fact that I'm convinced the Sabbath are supernatural and capable of energetic manipulation that is currently incomprehensible to me and most of us, except maybe a true shaman. Here's what happened. I had set up our standard capture the flag battle game with wooden short bows and foam-tipped arrows with all 7 of the kids ages 6 to 12 and fell into a very childlike and playful demeanor myself. Sometimes when I'm teaching, I can completely forget about my adult life and just enjoy playing in the forest, and this is when the weird stuff begins to happen. I had most of the kids in direct visual within 50 yards of me. And then we heard what sounded like a cross between a monkey and a large tropical bird about 150 yards away, at ground level, into another tree line. The call was very loud and tropical bird-like at first, then shifted to a more primate-like whooping and hoo ha ha ha. My mind didn't even register it properly, and I asked the nearest kids, "Do you hear that?" One of them, a 10-year-old girl, gave me a confused look and said, "Yeah, it sounds like a monkey." Unfortunately, the kids immediately caught onto her saying that and started whooping back at it. How many people can say that's happened to them at work? It took me about 30 seconds to register what the F was going on. Between triangulating the sound of the call and eliminating known calls, human? No. Raptor bird? No. Cougar? Definitely not. Then I realized that we were actively communicating with the Sabbath on a beautiful spring afternoon in a park I'd spent countless hours in as a kid. I immediately called a mandatory water break, gathered up all the kids, and moved us further away. Good move. The entire rest of the day I was on guard with my phone and knife within reach. Awareness is always my primary defense, though. I sent outwards my feelings towards it, and I warned it that I'm responsible for the safety of these children, and I got some sort of intensely playful mixed energy response. I think it was a young Sabbath, because older ones probably wouldn't have been calling at us out of the blue like that. I moved the kids away from it, lied to them about what it was. Didn't see or hear it anymore that day. It is what it is. What do you guys think about the monkey bird calls? There was a strong urge amongst the kids and I to go investigate the call, like he was luring us into it. I don't think that would have been wise. Maybe it just wanted to play capture the flag or something else. Just a week before that, I was leading a different group of kids in a different park, and we were hearing wood knocks coming from multiple directions. 2 of the older boys in that group were also actively attempting to communicate with the Sabbath, but all we got were wood knocks. I believe that I'm marked. I've all but made eye contact with them at this point. Biomimicry, mind speak episodes, glimpses of movement, wood knocks, calls, voices in the night. But being yelled at in 2015 shook me to the core, and I'll never forget that one. Thankfully, I've recently shifted from darkness to light on this topic, and my quest continues. They're welcome to engage with me only in a spirit of cooperation and respect. Anything else will be met with invocations of the one true God, his humble servants, and all the angels of death that I can summon. I undoubtedly am more concerned about human enemies than Sabe. Me too. In fact, I think they would make excellent allies, but maybe that's just my own paradigm. I think I'd like that too, actually. You're a godsend to a lot of people, including myself. Don't ever forget that, and don't let the cabal get you down, brother. Your army has got your six. With utmost respect to you and your clan, Mr. Kyle from Oregon. P.S. If you read or respond, I wish to deepen this topic of why kids. Do their pure and innocent energies draw the Sabe to them? As adults, we have become spiritually weakened by modern culture, and your question echoes in my mind. Why do we tell the children? What do we tell the children about the forest people? There's so much more to learn and discuss. Yeah, there is, man. You know what? Yes, there is. Like, earlier we had that other email where somebody said, frickin' helicopters. When somebody mentioned that the so-called things below me. Crazy. We're actually above a helicopter. Here goes. But anyways, yeah, so we hear about the so-called people who know authorities, whatever you want to call them, and they say we are not mentally ready to know a lot of truths. It's almost amusing to me. One human deciding for the rest of the humans what they feel they're ready to learn or not, right? They can ram it up their ass, man. Helicopter's still down there. Alright, who's been waiting? Who's been waiting? Oh, here's the title that's coincidentally similar to what I just said. The Truth Many Cannot Handle is the title of this email. Alright, hi Steve. My name is Clayton. Feel free to use my name. I'm 30 years old and I live in Northern California with my wife and young son. You're a real man's man, Steve, and we need more men like you to model manhood to a generation of wimps and gimps. I'm not an avid outdoorsman, but the amount of I'm not an avid outdoorsman, but the mount of my nice 8-point Kentucky whitetail buck looking down on me reminds me of the days when I spent much more time in the woods. My grandfather had almost 700 acres of land for us to explore when we were young, and those memories stand out as some of the best of my life. I don't have access to that land anymore, sadly, but that's a very long story. First of all, before I get into my story, I want to express my anger and disappointment that many young people in my generation are completely disconnected with both nature and objective reality. These days, 2 + 2 = 4 seems to be deemed invalid because it supposedly ostracizes and marginalizes people who refuse to accept that there is a correct answer to almost anything, especially when the correct answer does not coddle the emotions of the infantile adult children who kick against the immovable wall of truth and stomp their feet with confronted reality. This disturbing trend is evident in one of the latest developments of insanity, in which an educated fool proclaimed that math is racist. It seems that human stupidity has no limits, and we prove it every day. You know we are lied to. I know we are lied to about almost everything that truly matters in terms of our temporal and spiritual development. You asked once why people recoil at the idea that so many things they believe are lies. Well, I believe it is twofold. Number one, their pride prevents them from admitting that they could have been deceived. It's both an overestimation of their knowledge bank and an underestimation of the evil motivations of the deceivers. The Bible says they are both deceiving and being deceived. Number two, the mental strength required to reorganize your worldview based on new and correct understanding requires intellectual honesty and humility, traits that many do not possess and find detestable. This is self-evidently related to the first point. Many are much more interested in maintaining a feigned superiority over others based on a false bank of knowledge that has no real basis in fact. Christ said to esteem others better than yourself. The Proverbs also said that anyone who judges a matter before hearing it is a foolish disgrace. Many will not hear because they cling to their false reality and have no use for hard truth and facts. Frickin' helicopters! That one's below us too. Oh, it's flying low, traveling up the valley. Whatever. Sorry. Fortunately, in this community, we don't have to be alone in doing so. I thank you for bringing us together in a spirit of love and acceptance without fear of judgment. This is essential for good, solid information to make its way into the public. Fear of cancellation is a detriment to the truth being shared in good faith. But I'm beyond the fear of cancellation. The Bible tells me in the words of Christ himself that, paraphrase, they hate me. They will hate you too. They hate you because they hated me first. We have to stop caring about what these people think of us because it doesn't matter what we say or how diplomatic we try to be. They hate us because they hate us. And that will never change by our capitulation. That's what the truckers seem to understand. And God bless their efforts. I don't believe they're in vain, not in the slightest. Rant over. Whew. All right, that was a good one. My story isn't all that climactic, but I will tell it anyway, and hopefully someone can benefit just from simply knowing that I hear you, I understand, I can relate. If not by direct experience, then certainly by empathy, your love, and unfeigned interest in your spiritual and physiological well-being. After all, if we're concerned for the good of our neighbor, we shouldn't pretend to truthfully be concerned with our own ultimate good. They're true. The two are inexorably tied. This occurred many years ago. I believe I was around the age of 16. I was deer hunting on my grandfather's property in western Kentucky. The area was a heavily forested river bottom with lots of CRP. However, trails were cut leading to various small food plots on the property. I was situated in a ground blind on one of these plots hunting whitetails. I had arrived well before dawn with my dad. He parked the Jeep around a half a mile from my blind location. We parted ways and I walked alone in the dark until I reached the blind. I remember feeling creeped out by the silence and the dead air in the area. It seemed the switch had been flipped, like the wood's volume had been turned way down. I know this isn't totally out of ordinary for pre-dawn, but I thought I would at least hear the familiar rustlings of wildlife around me. Once in my blind, I loaded my 30-30 Winchester rifle and I got situated and made myself comfortable, ready for a long sit. The silence continued. I heard nothing but the faint trusting of leaves prodded gently by the wind. I remember listening intently, hoping to hear the birds begin singing, as it would soon be dawn. Suddenly, I began hearing the unmistakable sounds of bipedal steps to my rear, which would have been in very thick brush. I froze, placed my hand on my rifle, ready for confrontation. I heard a few more footfalls, then nothing. After several seconds of silence, I heard the biped move away from me. That was it. Soon the birds began chirping and the day was normal after that. I cannot confirm that I had a bona fide encounter. It could have been someone trespassing, but what can I say is that I know in my deepest parts that these things are real, having never seen one, and that the strange feeling / silence did precede my experience, which is a bit too coincidental for me. I think the truth's in many ways like a gut punch. You know it when it hits you, and it's very hard to ignore without a concerted and focused effort to do so. Too many display more will to ignore the truth rather than fight for what is right. No shit. Thank you, Steve, again for all you do, and thank you everyone who shares their story here for your willingness to open up without fear. Don't doubt, don't fear. Whoa. It's enough to make you jump, right? God wins in the end, and truth seekers will have their answers in due time. Clayton Jarvis. Clayton, thanks for the rant and thanks for the experience share, man. Appreciate it. I'm sure you just resonated with a lot of people with that one. including myself. A chunk of snow that just beamed me in the shoulder. Gave me a little slight haircut, but whatever. Whatever. I don't give a shit anymore. Bring it. Bring it or leave me alone. Whatever. I'm over it. One more, then I'm gonna move. My frostbitten toes are starting to bug the shit out of me. Forgotten Encounters to title this one. Hey Steve, glad to know there are others out there that couldn't give a rat's ass about what the bottom feeders think. I had an encounter in the mid-2000s that I didn't realize at the time what it was. Now looking back, there's no doubt what it was. I live in southeast Louisiana. There's much swampland here, as we all know. Anyway, I went back home from the city where I was living and working for a weekend deer hunt, as I did every hunting season. Excuse me. On Saturday morning, my dad and I made our morning hunt as we did on this family property. On our way back for lunch, he showed these marks on the side of a very large oak tree. The marks were the shape of an X, like claw marks. We chatted about it just a little bit. My dad said it was probably a bear marking. We never found any bear scat or tracks. Later that night, I stepped outside to relieve myself, and as I walked out away from the house in the darkness, I got this oh shit kind of feeling, like someone was watching me and telling me that I'd gone far enough. As I looked across this field toward the tree line, something let out a scream that shook me to my core. I could tell it was moving to the west of me, left or right. It then let out another scream, and I could feel each scream in my bones. It was around 200 yards from me and moving away. On the third and final scream, I felt like it was a warning to me. I've been through this section of the swamp many, many times on the way to my deer stand. But one season was the first and the last time that I ever saw the marking and heard the screams. Sorry for the rambling on. My name is Robert. I don't mind if you use it. Thanks for all you do. Okay, man? It's not a very lucky thing being picked out of the crowd to have that experience of that scream, is it? It's absolutely nothing to be envied, without a doubt. I mean, I've heard noises. I've heard a 3-tone, long, drawn-out call one time, but I haven't had the bone rattling scream yet. I hope I don't receive it. All my luck, I probably will. I think one more, maybe. One more with a bunch of pictures. All right, here we go. This is my Mount Shasta experience. Correction. The title should read, My Mount Shasta Experience. And my mom's accounts took place in the 30s, say 34 or 39. My mother was the youngest 12 children. The resend of the photos is the actual order these photos were taken. The last one was an impressive display of strength. I do know the Sasquatch size in the region of some being reported 12 feet. I do recall a Lynn Smith narrative about a Southern California report made by a man going in the bushes to pee off of Foothill Boulevard in the Upland, California area. Sasquatch height was listed as 12 feet tall. This area was on the north side of the Foothill Boulevard, circa early 2000s. The area is foothills with canyons leading up into the mountains that are surprisingly wild. Indeed, a very recent report, 2021, said that a Bigfoot was seen in the Arroyo Seco, north of the famous Rose Bowl, Arroyoseco. Many years ago, I have hiked into that area on a full moon night. In fact, another Lynn Smith written narrative circa 1990s reported by a woman on a day hike off of the Cobb Estate, maybe 5 miles of crow flies from the Rose Bowl. She said she saw a 6-foot-tall Bigfoot twice, and she waved at it, and the youngster waved back. I've hiked in the very same spot, which is maybe 15 minutes from the dead end of Lake Boulevard in Pasadena. On the west end of Santa Monica Mountains, near YMCA camp, a young man reported that he was sneaking off to a rock formation he wanted to visit on his last day in camp. He estimated his destination was 3 miles from the Y camp. As he is hiking, he is approaching a small meadow, and he sees 2 children playing. He paused to watch unobserved. What caught his eye were their hairy appearance. And observing further, he saw several taller adults watching the children from the tree line opposite him. He heard a sound to his rear, so he hid in the bushes nearby. What he described was a creature with massive legs walked past him. As the youngster described, As this youngster described his own actions, I was very good at hide and seek and concealment, so I laid very still until I felt the coast was clear, and I very quietly snuck out of there. Once I got safely out of the area, I ran as fast as I could back to camp. To give you an idea where this area is, it is not far from the Ojai clan of Sasquatch in Ventura County. Ventura County is the western terminus of the Santa Monica Mountains, which lead into Los Angeles Griffith Park. I include this information to give you an idea of how close the forest people are to populated areas. In fact, a Montreal or Toronto, Canada reported it took place in January 2000s where the informant was walking to her boyfriend's apartment and she was passing an alley. Something said, "Look up the alley." What she saw was a tall creature, maybe 9 feet tall, standing on one side of the alley. What got her was it was in the city. Times it was 6:30 p.m. Rapey. Akio. And yes, you can read my name. I live in LA, California. All right. All right, man. Thanks for that email. And listen, you guys, I gotta get my butt up. I think my left leg's fallen asleep. And my toes are on fire from being scarred from being frostbitten last frickin' November. Minus whatever the hell it was, minus 20 or something. These boots aren't really for that weather. Now, wouldn't that be something else if I got hit in the side of the head with a frickin' pelted snowball out of the middle of nowhere? I'd probably get PTSD from that. Wouldn't be good. I gotta start my way down. Oh, this is gonna hurt getting up. Oh yeah, there we go. No, nothing staring at me, that's good. I'm gonna carry on with some more video shortly when I get down a little farther. Get my blood pumping again.